and welcome to this week's episode of the SLB show. We are back after missing last week. We were just really busy people in personal lives. So we are back heading towards the final weekend of the regular season, and it's still largely all to play for. I've spent far too long, and the guys have now spent far too long trying to work out permutations. It would have been great if heading into this week the league had published something, let's be honest, for that we could follow and whatnot, and maybe that's still to come out. It is only Monday, so by the time people listen to this, they might have already done that. So if they have, thank you very much, SLB. But as you can see, Louis and Mitch are here as well, and yeah, we've got a bit of an interest when we're going to look at the battles for different places in the table. 2nd to 4th is still open, 5th to 8th still to be settled. We'll look at how each team kind of look like form-wise heading into the post-season. And then we're going to look at a question or a thing about Isaiah Small obviously heading off to Israel. What impact is that going to have on Surrey versus Nate Martin, who's out with a season-ending injury? We also probably need to add into that discussion Maceo Jack as well for Newcastle Eagles, which might then encompass a whole another discussion about injuries, as it seems to have been quite a lot at this time of season. So guys, firstly, how are you both?
I'm good. How are you, Mitch?
Oh, I'm good, although I'm very conscious of the fact that I cannot do maths very well.
Oh Jesus! I hope you've not made any more mistakes, and we end up saying something and someone uses that against us. So we'll quantify that anything we say could be wrong.
And considering the fact we spent the last half hour going through some of these numbers, and I'm pretty sure we're still wrong on a few of them.
Look, man, we're not mathematicians, we're sports people, all right?
We watch ball go in basket, we don't do numbers.
Ball don't lie, man.
Louis has a stats app. He loves them.
Look, no one cares about that.
He's the definition of a stats guy. All right, let's get into it, though. The battle, obviously, London Lions, well done to them. Congratulations. They sealed the regular season championship a couple of weeks back. But the battle for 2nd to 4th is really interesting. It's all up for grabs between Manchester and Cheshire. And it really seems to be that we got to the case, guys, where Cheshire really need to get a win to seal it, to keep 2nd place. Is that fair enough? Do we think they can do it?
Yeah, it's very much doable for Cheshire. I mean, they've got one game left. It's Leicester at home. It's a perfect opportunity for them to solidify the season, especially after taking a win against London this weekend as well. It puts all the momentum with them to really just get into really good form for the playoffs.
The question is Pat Robertson fit? He wasn't at the last game. They didn't look right. You know, if they play that way against Leicester, who knows what happens.
But even though Leicester are short-handed, they've been like, this is testament to Rob, is how organised Rob's had it. Like, let's be honest, Leicester have played really well short-handed. But could they get the jump in Cheshire?
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
I mean, let's be fair, that Gladiators game was just chaos incarnate. Just wild. Great fun to watch, but it was all over the place.
Well, from a Leicester perspective, it's going to be tough considering their big rotation is Mens's. You know, Tomide Akinsiku, I mean, he's obviously very raw, but as a kind of very mobile guy, he's more suited to that matchup. But with Mens's, yeah, it's not great.
Menzies with Skylar is not going to go very well for him, I don't think.
And actually, we all know that Skylar's actually a pretty good post defender as well. So
yeah, it's not a good matchup.
But when we were looking at this, we got to the stage where we're like, initially you assume that Sheffield are kind of locked in that 4th place. But actually, Sheffield can still finish 3rd. They would need a lot of things to go in their favour. A lot of things to go in their favour. But Sheffield with 2 games remaining, one against Leicester, one against Manchester. It really shows that last game between Manchester and Sheffield. That's a huge game. Like that is the big game in this half of the draw. And like when we're looking at that matchup, both teams. What did we say it was? Sheffield have the head-to-head by 29 points. So a win doesn't. It's not as if Manchester are up, and it comes down to head-to-head and whatnot. Like Sheffield, a win for Sheffield is huge. Sheffield win, they jump above Manchester basically if they get the win against Leicester. So Manchester at one point, who were really locked in for second place, could finish fourth.
It would be mad.
You think
Sorry, Mitch, go on.
and you think about it in terms of the playoff runs as well. If you're going off just seeding alone, whoever finishes third avoids London till the final, which is quite a big incentive for some of these guys if they don't think they can do it over two legs. So it makes it really interesting for this weekend what can happen.
And when you look at obviously Manchester still have like the EMBLs to get involved in.
Yeah.
They've played a lot of games, obviously getting to the final of the trophy. Are Manchester, I know we'll touch this in a second, but are Manchester equipped to keep all these games going? They've got a deep roster, but have they got it under pressure, really? Like, they're down 29 points to Sheffield in the head-to-head. They beat Sheffield the first time by 12, but have lost the last two meetings. Could it happen?
It's possible, but I think the addition of DJ Mitchell is going to have a good impact in that game. We've seen what he can do already in spurts, and he's still just getting acclimatised to the team again, getting back into the swing of it, and he can go off for a quarter and give you a double-digit score quite consistently against a Sheffield team that maybe don't have the same sort of body size on that perimeter to really slow down a guy like DJ Mitchell. That could be really tough to stop him. They've got another tool to add to their weaponry, really, just to float you. That's what another ball dominant guy to just have at you, deal with it basically.
So what are we saying is going to happen here? How are we locking this in? Second, third, fourth?
No comment.
You're not commenting, okay. Fair
No
enough.
comment.
Well, that's not a very good
Shall I
podcast,
start?
isn't it? All right.
Okay, I'll say.
Fucking hell.
I'll say Cheshire's second then. You happy?
Yeah. So Cheshire, to seal that, just need a win against Leicester. There is also a crazy situation where Leicester could finish fourth,
Could.
but they
Doing a lot of
but they
lifting
need to
there.
they need to do a lot of lifting. They need to win all their games, which is Sharks, Eagles, and Knicks, and beat Sheffield by 40-ish points, 30 odd points. So we're kind of not seeing that happening in such a big game.
I don't know.
So-
Warren Rafi could go off again. He's got a
Yeah.
50-point rate over one game.
That's very true. So Mitch, what are you locking in?
I'm going to lock in Cheshire for second as well. I think it'll go down the last game between Sheffield and Manchester, but I think Manchester will just edge it.
I think the same. So I think it'll be London, Cheshire, Manchester, and then Sharks.
I think our top four is kind of solidified. We kind of know who we've got. It's going to make some interesting matchups. But who they're going to play in the first round is anybody's guess at the moment.
Yeah. And may I just add that when we did our rates for the 8th a few weeks back, I said Lions, Knicks, Manchester Sharks. So I've kept the same throughout. So come on, me. All right, let's look at the battle for 5th to 8th. We've spent far too long looking at the numbers behind all this. So I want to make sure we mention it all. So when we look at the head-to-heads between the teams, Leicester 3-1 up on Bristol. Leicester 2-1 up on Newcastle with a 3-point lead in the head-to-head. Leicester and Surrey, though, are up by 17 points. Bristol v Newcastle. Bristol are 2-1, but Newcastle are up 16. Surrey lead that 3-1, and Newcastle have the 4-0 over Surrey. Leicester remaining fixtures are Sharks, Eagles, Knicks. Surrey only have the Lions. Eagles have Riders and the Flyers. And the Flyers obviously have the Glads and then the Eagles. There's a couple of outlying games there. There you go, Surrey v London. Surrey, the day is London obviously dropped that game to Cheshire. They probably won't want another defeat heading into the postseason. But is that one of these games that London having to travel to Surrey? Okay, it's not very far, but they're having to play in the sports park. Like, is that a deciding factor? And then you look on the flip of that, the Glads at home, final game of the season for them, disappointing season. Could they throw a spanner in the works against Bristol? Thoughts?
Between the two, I think the Gladiators have a better chance of causing a bit of a surprise out of the two games, but we've seen how Surrey play at home. And that venue is tough for any team to go and play against. Bristol needed that win they got at the weekend. They needed that to have any momentum going into the playoffs. They will want to solidify that with a Gladiators win, just to wrap it up. But it's going to be, I think, out of the two games, I think it's more likely Gladiators could upset Bristol, but they have to be going in, right, just to swing everything at them and don't give them a chance to finish the season on a high.
When we look at other teams, Newcastle run of form, really been up and down. They've got probably the head-to-head. They play Riders and Flyers. They beat the Riders and they win by, say, 4 or 5. They get that head-to-head. They have beat the Flyers. They have that head-to-head. They already have it over Surrey. You would kind of assume, okay, if Newcastle win both their games, they're in the hot seat. They go to 14 wins. They potentially finish in 5th place. I see that that being a real strong possibility.
Which, if you're looking at that from a Newcastle perspective and how they've played this season, that's a massive success. You think about how they were early in the season, how the challenges they've faced as the year has gone on. If they can finish this season in 5th place, considering how we thought they were going to be at the start of the year and how they've been playing, that's a massive achievement. They've been able to turn that around in the second half.
Well, it's a prerogative.
Louis, what's your thoughts?
Well, it's a prerogative that they, firstly, don't end up 8th. I mean, obviously last season they did do the Lions upset, but that's not going to be very likely this season.
Don't say that, Louis. Can't say that again.
I shouldn't.
History
say that
not
again.
on your side.
I shouldn't say that again. I'm tempting fate, but yeah, it's obviously been a great turnaround ever since their more manoeuvring to small ball. Obviously now without Maceo Jack, they've had to starting Canway at the 5 again, which is not where they got their success recently. But without Maceo, that's really, really tough. He took up a lot of usage for them. He was a big, creator for them, creative hub for them. Without that, obviously they have Dion. Obviously with Dion, he's more of an off-ball kind of movement shooter wing. Which means that you could play like Mitch and Ray Sean as the 2 guards. Obviously, Ray Sean's a dominant scorer. It means that he's a better off-ball spacer. Maceo hasn't really been shooting to his standard, I don't feel like, this season. So in terms of optimizing that lineup, it's somewhat better. Obviously, you then don't have you're moving Cole Long up the lineup, so it's not Maceo Jack there. So it swings and roundabouts. But without that added scoring from Maceo, it's not looking good, bro.
And I suppose for them as well, they've gained Josh Ward-Hibbert, and then within 2 weeks they've lost Maceo Jack. Like, the plus minus to that's huge.
Yeah, it's just not very lucky, is it? They've had quite a few injury issues. Obviously, Josh Ward-Hibbert, Burden's been in and out. So, but that's just how it goes, man. That's how the season goes. So
And then, so if we go looking at form for this, out of those 4 teams, Leicester last 5 games 3-2, Surrey and Eagles both 2-3, and Flyers only 1 win in the last 5, and that was over Manchester a week and a half ago by 3 points. How do you guys? Let's lock it in. Where are we going? 5 to 8.
go on, Mitch. Go on, Mitch. Go on,
I'm torn, man.
It's a really interesting battle. Like, we were looking at this, and I'm looking at the head-to-heads. I actually, from a head-to-head point of view, it's even hard to lock in.
Yeah, the loss of Macy for Newcastle is massive. That'll have a massive effect on them. Leicester, Rob just finds a way. There's no other way to put it. It doesn't matter what happens, he will find a way. I can't see them being lower than 6th, but I just don't know if they're going to finish 5th or not. And I'm torn at the moment. Bristol are in the worst form, as you just mentioned there. However, with the games they've got left, realistically they should at least be going 1-1. They expect to be going 1-1. That Newcastle game is kind of massive for them on Sunday. That'll really determine where that happens. I think they've kind of got the edge just because they're healthier than Newcastle are, personally. Sorry.
Who are you saying healthier, sorry? Leicester?
Bristol.
Bristol, sorry.
Bristol over Newcastle are slightly healthier, so I think they'll have the edge in that game. I think it's going to come down to that last matchup. Are Surrey going to drop off that much of them?
I mean, they've only got 1 game.
Surrey only have London.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to win.
The question I have is, what's more likely? Leicester pick up 3 wins or Bristol win 2? Which is more likely to happen? Because for me, that's going to determine who's going to finish 5th. And from the 2 games that are left, I think Bristol are more likely to get 2 wins than Leicester. They're likely to be getting 3. So I'm probably going to have Bristol 5th, Leicester 6th. Sorry, down in 7th. My guess.
So, want to read out your order? 7. Say that one more time. 5 to 8.
Bristol, Leicester, Surrey, Newcastle.
Right, Louis, where are you going?
So, see, I do kind of believe in Rob a little bit. I believe in Flimbo Marafe.
And I also think he's got Kiri playing. Kiri's
balling.
doing some nice things.
See, it's tough, man.
Kiri's such a dynamic wild card at times. He can just go off on random games. We've seen it before. It just takes a bit of momentum, and that'll be him.
Well, because they've got 3 pretty dangerous guards. You know, if you've got 3 dangerous guards to get buckets, you know, that always gives you a chance. So even with the big rotation being as such, Tomide has really been quite active.
Is Suleiman out?
Yeah.
Is he out?
I don't know
They've
how
not
long for.
Yeah, because that could if they go small ball with, say, Suleiman at the 5, with, say, Nduku at the 4, with the 3 guard lineup, that's fascinating.
I mean, it's fascinating. It obviously depends on the other team. You know, you're not going to want.
Yeah, but Suleiman can play a small ball 5.
Yeah, no, it makes their big rotation a lot more palpable.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we think about that in terms of the matchups that they have at the end of the season, is that lineup going to work against Sheffield?
Possibly.
So
Possibly
obviously Pharaoh.
So they beat Sheffield the other day.
Yeah.
There's
a possibility that can work.
Yeah.
But
So
no Suleiman.
the matchup in terms of that 5 is Pharaoh against Menzies, and Pharaoh loves a post up against Menzies. not so great.
So, Louis, what are you going for? Lock it in.
Lock it in. I was trying to delay, man.
I know,
I'm trying to.
I'm
Okay.
trying to help you out here. Trying to give
but
you
it's
some options.
25 to
Yeah.
10. Let's go.
Okay. Okay. Leicester 5.
Yeah.
God. Okay. Surrey 6.
Ooh.
Bristol 7. Newcastle 8. Screw it.
Interesting. Would you like to both know what you said last time we did the race for the 8th? We went,
Completely different.
Louis, you went,
Completely different.
well, yeah, 89ers, Flyers, Eagles, Riders. Mitch went, Mitch had Sharks falling to 5th.
Look, man, I'm not thinking about
89ers,
this
Eagles,
at all.
Riders.
I'm
No,
just doing
well-
this on the cuff, man.
No on the cuff. Don't even just fake it to make it, Louis. I'm going Riders. Is there a way? No, Eagles. I don't. Where could Eagles finish? Right, let me just have the league table so I can slightly cheat. Eagles, if they lose that, will go 13. Bristol would lot drop that one. Yeah, you know what? Surrey are there. Oh, I'm going Riders, Surrey. So 89ers, Eagles. Because Eagles have because then Eagles beat. If Eagles beat Flyers end of the season, say Gladiators beat them. Yeah, I'm going Flyers 8th.
Interesting. Okay.
So Mitch went Flyers, Riders, 89ers, Eagles. Louis went Riders, 89ers, Flyers, Eagles. I've gone Riders, 89ers, Eagles, Flyers. So 3 of the 4, all in slightly different places. So it should be fascinating to see. That's for sure. And hopefully that all makes sense, and hopefully we've not made any mistakes. And if somehow Leicester beats Sheffield tomorrow by 50 points, and Flynn Boardman Rafe goes for 65 and sets all sorts of records, then this hasn't been pointless. Let's move on. Let's have a look. Who is the team in the most form? If we run through every single team right now in the league, which doesn't take that long, we've already kind of touched on some of the teams. Is it a team that instantly jumps to mind and you go, you know what, they are playing currently the best basketball in the league?
I think that says it all.
Yes, but it is. So when we look at the last 5 games, London 4-1. Obviously 4-1. They only played Surrey. Cheshire, they obviously got a big win against London. Was that during the week? This week? They are also 4-1. So they lost to London by 20 and then beat them a week and a half later by 3 points. Can't really probably read much into that. Manchester, it feels like at times they limp across games, but they're 2-3 the last few games. Sheffield, they're 3-2. So when you're looking at form, it feels like a few teams are lumping into the playoffs. Like we've just said about Bristol, but who's the team in form? Like if you're talking about London are obviously the team to beat, obviously the ones to beat. So we're saying, yeah, they're 4-1. Yes, they dropped that game to Cheshire in London. Can you read into that one that much?
That win.
It's a huge win for Cheshire.
I think you definitely can. I mean,
All
they
right, let's go for it.
blew apart their transition defense. Just absolutely wrecked it. Like they demolished London's the whole game theory of how they play. They shot, and then we see the game after. Manchester beating them and leaking out, getting easy points. If their transition defense is liable to leak easy points like that, they're beatable.
Yeah, I think.
And it's
I
on your
agree,
match.
I agree with Lou on this one. I think the Cheshire game showed some cracks in the armour with London quite significantly. They've shown, I think for me, I look at when you mention teams of momentum. I think that for me, the team that sticks out is Cheshire, because that game, even though they lost by 20, then they beat them by 3 in London. the momentum going into the playoffs, I think, is with them. They are now starting to figure out the blueprint. I think from observing a team like a Manchester play them, who were very much wanting that one-on-one matchup to try and maximise that while also attacking the transition. Cheshire ramped up that transition attack, really made it difficult for London. And I'll be honest, from watching that game, London looked complacent at points. They didn't seem that. Obviously, league's already won. They didn't seem that bothered. You don't want that the week before going into the playoffs.
That's why I think you'll see an instant, like the game against Surrey. Like I don't I'd be surprised to see any rotations out. Like it'll be their four main Americans will be in. It'll be. I think I'd be surprised if Sabonis hasn't got his strongest 12 there.
I mean, we do have to get this across. They were playing their strong lineup against Cheshire. I don't care what the minute spread says. They were playing their strong lineup. You know, guys like Kieran Stanley were playing. You know, that he was just adapting to what was going on the court from my perspective.
I think the playoff is going to see. For me, I look at it. Which team out of the top two has more evolutions they can take and more adjustments they can make on the fly? We have multiple years of seeing Ben Thomas do it in the playoffs, where he can make adjustments and make changes, and he's won silverware doing so in one-off games. If they can keep the momentum building, I think the massive question mark for them is Pat Robinson.
Yes.
If he's not there, that's a massive weapon that they've lost.
But is that also then just potentially, because Pat sat out some other games this season, but to me that may be a game where Ben's gone, sit out this one, you'll play against Riders because it's the game before the playoffs, sit this one out, it's the Gladiators, we'll get the win. And maybe they were complacent first half, but they adjusted well, and you saw the usual kind of Cheshire Phoenix towards the end without Pat Robinson.
I think that's a possibility. I'm just very concerned what London's adjustments are going to be in the playoffs as well, because we've already seen little cracks of London with every final they've reached. Every time the pressure's been on them that little bit more, they've either came out the gates really slow, or they've, in the Cheshire game, they had a shot to take the win or potentially get into overtime. Nobody wanted to shoot the ball. There was at least 2 open shots in that last possession that nobody wanted to take, and Cheshire left with a win at home in London, which that hurts. That gives Cheshire more momentum than hurts London.
Sorry,
you're giving Cheshire more and more confidence going into that playoff run. We're like, we've beat you at home. We're not worried about whatever we play you now.
Do we need to give some kudos or more kudos to Cheshire? They have made 0 roster changes. Like they've had the same. Like quite often, we've talked in the past about Cheshire will maybe bring a couple players in as reinforcements as the season goes on, or injuries, or last year obviously they had a couple players disciplinary issues. But this season, it's been the same guys all season long. You've looked at the growth of Lindo, Tobias Cameron has been much better than I thought he would do at this. Like when you look at their rotation, like you bring Lindo in, you know what you're getting. You've seen obviously Pat Robinson's happy to accept a role coming off the bench and develop MVP caliber numbers. Like it's insane. Like is that just testament to what Ben Thomas has done this season and got a settled group of guys who are all playing with each other? He's got Skylar White in incredible shape. LaQuincy Rideau has bought into a role. You wondered how LaQuincy could have maybe got a bit annoyed and whatnot about the role Pat had. But actually, it does seem like everyone's bought in. What are you going to say, Louis?
Yeah, I mean, we really do have to give them credit for how they recruited. I mean, Pat Robinson is my MVP, and they signed him from Ireland, which is practically a semi-pro league. You know, they constantly get in underfavored, undervalued guys. You know, which definitely makes getting guys to buy into roles more easy. So that's that's a part of their recruitment philosophy that translates to on-court product. But yeah, just their game plan is just so solid. They recruit to a set philosophy to a T. They don't have any got any guys who'd say don't fit them. They every sort of every offensive role is filled by a guy on the team. They've got a lot of defensive versatility with guys like Lindo as the point of attack defenders. They were playing Tobias Cameron and Lindo as guard defenders in the London game, especially at the start, which really punished them. I mean, they've got a really small budget, especially for our league, and they've recruited a team that has the size to match up with London. That's really difficult, especially when you're talking about guys with the offensive skills to also play the style that they do. So yeah, I mean, they walk a tightrope, and yeah, they've definitely done really well. So well done.
See, that I always talk about, like, yeah, well, 100% well done. Like, Pat Robinson was class when he came on the podcast, but don't know who I think actually might be one of the unsung heroes of this season of this roster. Jackson Brenchley.
Hey.
Like, I just think, like, you look at his numbers: 10 points a game, 4 rebounds, almost 3 assists, and like, he's a guy that behind Pat, behind Skylar, behind LaQuincy, probably gets forgotten about. But he's so solid. Like, he's great scorer, likes to get to the basket, good defender. He is the definition of someone that obviously Ben Thomas likes. Like, you're looking past seasons, like someone like EJ Stevens.
He's just a rim and freeze guy. He's a good extra slasher on their team that really plays into their thing. I'm thinking of a guy like, he's not the same scoring threat, but I think of a guy like Kristen. He's a attack off the catch, or freeze sort of guy. He's just really solid. I mean, he played at Utah. He played at a high major. Somehow ended up in Georgia last season. Was really efficient. He's just a really efficient off-ball guy. Like kind of like Will Yoakum. He's that sort of just really good complementary piece. So yeah.
Shout out to the Cheshire Phoenix. Next team I want to talk about. The Leicester Riders have somehow, in the last 5 games, limped. And I think limp's maybe I don't know if that's the right word, but they've got a 3-2 record in the last 5 games. They were extremely unlucky against the Gladiators back-to-back to lose those 2 games. They've had issues off the court. They've had injuries to Spencer Johnson, now Nate Martin. Bato's gone to Italy.
Suleiman.
And you just go, what's that? Suleiman as well has gone down hurt. They had players come and go at the start of the season. But Rob's somehow getting his team coming into the playoffs really united. He's got young guys like Akinsiku giving him big minutes, Victor Nduku. And then who would have seen this happening for Flynn Boardman, Rafi?
Me.
How? Tell me how you said, you know what? Coming out of U Sport. No. Like, how often do we see U Sport guys? Like, I think the last one that came from U Sport might have been Mason, the guy at Manchester, Boucher, whatever. Like, genuinely, that might have been, that's the last guy I can think of that did U Sport.
Yeah.
And you go, like, Boardman Rafi's been incredible. And obviously you're a fan of his, Louis, so tell me more.
I mean, what more can be said? I mean, he's been scoring 20 points for fun, at least 20 points for fun the past couple of weeks. I mean, I can't lie. I didn't expect him to go this nuclear. I really wanted him as an example, but it's just like, I can't say enough superlatives about him. For a British homegrown product, out barking, went the U Sports route. Was an underfavoured prospect. developed into a good, 6'4", 220-pound guard. I mean, how many guards do we produce? As an example, he should definitely be
Yeah.
in a national team picture. It's another example. But, really controlled guards that high IQ, gets to the basket really well. Excellent footwork, shifty footwork.
He's very much like that. Shifty footwork gives me Aaron Rye vibes.
Yeah, I know, that's what everyone's saying. Definitely so.
Like having not seen Leicester since early in the season till the other week, like it was just like, yeah.
Seeing a clone. Just like seeing
See him
a clone.
close up, the eye test, you can see it. You see those slow step throughs,
Diesel.
accelerated basket. Like, big fan.
Big fan. But
Huge fan.
But the thing is, he's just a smart player. Off ball, he cuts really well. Defensively, he kept on making plays as a weak side defender, getting steals, that kind of just messing stuff up. So, I just really like it.
Part of that credit has to go to Coach Rob as well for making the difference and give him that opportunity.
Say that again, Mitch. You were very, very quiet.
Bring the mic.
Is that better?
Like, you need to speak into the microphone.
Is it working now? Is it there?
Yes.
That's it. You can tell he's Scottish. He mumbles. I understood what he said, but I know Louis was like, "What are you saying, bruv?"
What are you saying, bruv? Innit?
We've got too many things to do, so it's okay. Some credit has to be given to Coach Rob as well for the fact he's able to make these adjustments for all the chaos that happened this year. He's given Flynn this chance to really step up.
He has kind of had to. I will say that.
He could have just given the ball more to Travis Beebe or more to now.
That's true.
But he had Spencer Johnson, and then he's had to go to the next guy. Like Rob's next guy up kind of policy. Like having spoken to Rob twice recently, you can just tell how proud he is in his team. Like, and someone like Flynn's just taking an opportunity because the coach is believing in him. Look at Akinsiku, like the guy. The reason that Leicester got that win over the Glads was because Akinsiku was able to be reliable when Aaron Menzies was needing to sit down. That's the reason. These guys are taking opportunities. And we often moan about coaches maybe not giving British kids a chance or young kids a chance in this league. Rob's having to, and it's probably working out for him. And like, two of us have getting Riders finishing 5th. 3 weeks ago, when we did our race to the 8th, we had them all finishing 8th and limping into the playoffs. Okay, they've added Keedy in, they've added in Bledson as well. Leicester are definitely ones to watch.
I was actually going to follow that up with another question for you guys. We always talked about Cheshire and London at the top end. Who's probably the biggest threat of potentially causing some problems in the bottom half of the table? Leicester's an obvious one because of how they're doing. They could very much have that upset potential, but there's someone that sticks out for you guys that potentially, at the moment, seems like there could be a bit of a problem for somebody.
Good question, Mitch.
Great question, Mitch.
Or is it all matchup dependent?
It is very matchup dependent from my perspective, Mitch. I would have said Newcastle. But obviously Mason and Jack's injured, so you can't say that. I would have said Surrey. But now, that guy's injured, Isaiah Small's injured. I'm not saying Bristol. No. Leicester's down men. I think it's really tough for a lower seed it's really tough for me to see a lower seed get past, to be perfectly honest, considering all of that. Bristol look not great recently. They look like a team low on chutzpah. I don't know. Low on energy, whatever.
With the amount of parity we've had, how much close games we've had this year, I think even in Newcastle did it last year, they got to the final from the 5th spot.
Yeah.
I think outside of, I think 6th and lower, it gets hard obviously because you've won less games. But if you're sitting that 5th or 6th spot, you're playing Sheffield or Manchester. Manchester aren't shooting well. If Sheffield aren't running in good form, they're beatable.
I would I would typically say that, but injuries. If these teams didn't have injuries, I'd say, yeah, that's a possibility. But over two legs, these guys injured. Go on, Grant. What are you gonna say?
No, I'm just gonna say let's go down injury chat because we've just said three guys who are instrumental for their teams, and if we're talking about head to heads over two legs, Surrey will feel over 80 minutes the difference without having Small. Newcastle feel the difference without having Maceo Jack, and Leicester will feel the difference without Nate Martin. Like
Nate Martin,
it's
Nate
crazy.
Else.
And well, that's now 5 starters they've lost this season due to whatever issues. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like Rob, I felt like every time I spoke to Rob, he was adding. Oh, it was 3, then it was 4, then it's 5. It's probably 6. Let's be honest. It's probably 6 because Suleiman probably was. Do you know what I mean? Like, genuinely, when you think it's just insane. But when we look at those 3 guys, whose presence is felt the most by not being there? Like Isaiah Small's different. He's not injury. He's off to finish the season in Israel.
Yeah.
Like let's touch on that one first.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're a Surrey fan, you're absolutely devastated.
Devastated. Have to be. But go on. What's the next one?
No, I was going to say let's keep talking about Isaiah Small. Like if you're absolutely like it feels like to me it feels obviously we don't know, we're not privy to any situations there in terms of if anything's happened off the court or agents have upset players and if there's been a buyout and whatnot. We don't know that. But in terms of what potentially 2-3 weeks left of the season, that's gutting. Like Surrey could, okay, they're playing London. Surrey, if they won that or finished with 14 wins, sitting like the 6th, 7th. 6. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see if any of you guys would say anything. But they could potentially, in 6th place, play a Manchester team that, if I remember correctly, they've fared really well against in the regular season.
I'm going to bring up a Rob stat. With imports, I think they were like 8-4. You know, after Tyrone Lawrence came in, they were 8-4. They look. If that import lineup stays, you know, with Isaiah Small, I'm thinking, you know, an upset is on the cards, especially if they're 5th or 6th.
Agreed.
I would be very worried about playing a fully fit Surrey. And, you know, without Isaiah Small, that just completely changes everything. You know, obviously with Teo, you've got more of a stretch threat at the 4 spot. You can put him in the corner. You've got potentially more spacing. But one thing, you know, Surrey did a lot of, obviously, was attack the offensive boards. You know, it's a big thing in modern basketball now. You know, offensive rebound percentage is crucial. And that was one area they got ahead. If I say Small, he was one of the best rebounds in the league. You know, it was a great hands in finishing around the basket, you know, cutter, etc. Those are easy points that they now just can't get. Really, they don't have a replacement for that. They don't have now that on the defensive end, they don't have the length of the 4 spot anymore. You know, they've got Teo, who's a little bit smaller, but obviously he's very stocky and strong. But in terms of Isaiah Small, he's obviously getting loads of steals and blocks. You know, he's a very impactful defensive player. You know, in terms of my RAPM stat, big up. His plus minus was incredible. So it's.
Do you just big up your own stat?
Yeah.
Of course he does.
Did you just do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
But,
well, good for you, Louis, for
thanks
bigging yourself up.
Thanks, Grant. But anyway, yeah, it's just a huge dynamic shift. And I know you're going to ask about him versus the other 2. In terms of that, who's the bigger? See, I think Isaiah Small. I think Isaiah Small's the biggest miss. You know, I know Mitch is kind of thinking Maceo. Maybe. I hope you are. But
well, I could happily see why people would say Maceo as well, because he's such a big piece in how Newcastle have kind of found themselves throughout the season.
I mean, he's a massive scoring threat. You know, that's his thing. You like to say it, Maceo 2.0. He's one of their main offensive cogs.
That's a grand young word.
That is correct.
2.0,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's
3.0.
you. It's for you. As Grant Young said, Maceo 2.0. You
Probably
happy
now
now?
3.0 at Newcastle, but okay.
Yeah, but I feel like it's definitely earlier in the season when he had Maceo Jack handling the ball a lot. I feel like that was going because what you add by scoring threat, you also detract from his lack of ability in terms of playmaking. With a Ray Sean, he's got more guard skills. He's simply as a playmaker, driving kick guy, he's more skilled at doing that. Maceo, if he's handling the ball, he's probably going to end up in the shot. So I feel like in terms of team balance, it's probably better for Newcastle. Well, not better, but it's not as much of a loss without Maceo, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
I would agree
Isaiah
with that.
Small, in terms of defensively, Isaiah Small was a big piece of their defensive puzzle too. So
Yeah.
that's my thoughts. And Nate Martin,
I would,
he's a very solid big, but he doesn't compare to the other two. I don't feel.
I'm a big Nate Martin fan. His injury was a bad one. Hopefully, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see where he moves on to if he gets fit for the start of the next season. But he kind of gives the Riders something. I think he gives them a bit more hustle play. The amount of times he gets hands in the passing lane, stops interior plays happening. Like he's a really useful player in our league.
Yeah.
But we've seen what Leicester have done when guys have had to step up. That I'd have to agree. I think Isaiah Small's the bigger loss of the three.
Yeah, if I can just touch on Nate Martin real quick. He's a skilled mobile big that adds a lot in terms of obviously versus a Menzies, you can short roll and kind of pass above the defense. He's so big, but he's not as skilled. With Nate Martin, you can run a lot of handoff stuff, so he really changes their offense. You can run a lot of DHO stuff. Against obviously Menzies, you can't do that. So it changes their offense, but in terms of his actual scoring, for a big, he's all right. But he's not very long, which I feel like is an issue in terms of his finishing. So he's more of like a finishing off cuts, etc., rather than a massive value add in terms of in the post. He does score from there occasionally, but he's not a massive add. So, and defensively, he's solid, but I wouldn't say he's one of the best defensive bigs in the league. So, go on.
Basically, big up Isaiah Small, and it's going to be a not too good a situation for Surrey. Is that what you're saying, Louis?
Yeah, sorry you're done, man. But they've got a shining hope. They've got DJ Parkinson coming back, man. I'm very happy.
And on that note, right, final thing to say before we end this episode. Get involved in our fan vote. You can find the link in our bio across social media platforms. It's on our link tree. The link was on our Instagram story, which we'll reshare tomorrow. We've had the first vote return. I'll put an image up tomorrow. But Pat Robinson, well out in front, on I think 144 points. In second place, it's a tie between Dean Williams and Max Jones, but Dean Williams takes it based on one more second place vote. I think they're on 55 points apiece, so it goes Pat Robinson, Dean Williams, and then Max Jones. Big shout outs though coming in for Jordan Johnson, Flynn Boardman Rafa's up there as well. Be interesting to see. So we've got loads of time. To the Leicester fans though, see if you vote for Flynn for first, second, third. It does not count. Okay? It says that in the rules. You can only vote for one player. You did it last season with Riley Abercrombie and Spencer Johnson. Riders fans, if you're listening to this, or if you're not, or if you're the one shading it in the Riders chats, make sure they know not to spoil their votes. Okay, Riders fans? Okay. But every other team, get involved, shade it in your chats. We got so many votes in last year, and it'd be great to get that done. We will announce the winner on next week's show, who is our SLB show MVP of our fan vote. We're also going to do some other awards where we'll get some fellow content creators involved in them as well. So, yeah, guys, what is your game to watch for this weekend? There's a lot of them. Is it the obvious game of Manchester Sheffield? That's what mine is. But anyone want to choose another random game? Is it going to be Eagles versus Flyers? Is it going to be Leicester versus any one of their games? Surrey, London?
I mean, depends when you listen to this. If you listen to this on the morning of the 21st, tonight's game's the big one. The Leicester Sheffield game tonight's the big one to watch.
We've deliberately not kind of touched on that because that stipulation isn't going to potentially have a big sway.
Personally, for me, I'm really looking forward to the Bristol Newcastle game of the weekend. That's going to be a fun one in my eyes to watch.
Louis?
I mean, obviously I have to go Sheffield, but that's a good shout out, Mitch. All right.
It's a big one. It's to be quite important to the standings, and the two teams in the bottom end who both really want some positive momentum going into the playoffs. That's by the end of the season. It could be really impactful.
Brilliant. So that's what the games the guys want to check out for this week. So this has been this week's episode. Hopefully you enjoy it. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. And hopefully, if you've noticed any changes in recent weeks on the production, it's not impacted anything. So hopefully that's okay. So from the three of us, enjoy the weekend's games. Hopefully your teams do well. And we'll be back to sum up the end of the regular season. We'll do some awards and to hype towards, I suppose, the playoffs starting next weekend, basically, aren't they? So in 2 weeks' time, there'll be the playoffs. So we'll be back next week. Thank you for listening. Good night.